my favorite thing to do of the night. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals for this night, January 26, 2012, our first meeting for this year. Thank you all for being here. For those of you watching on TV, I hope you're not missing any good other shows on tonight. First thing to do, let you know that Zoning Board of Appeals is a recommending body to the Village Board of Trustees. We meet for variances on existing buildings or existing conditions within the city. Any variance that's required for something existing comes in front of us. We then vote based on Illinois state law, which requires us to look at criteria, specific criteria as to 3 different things, whether or not, let me just find it here for a second. Whether or not the property can yield a reasonable use in return if the variance is not granted. Secondly, that the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. And 3, that the variance if granted would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Based on those, we make a decision that then goes to the village board. Since we have 7 members normally of the committee, and there's only 5 of us here tonight, it takes a full unanimous, all 5 of us, to go on what's called the omnibus agenda of the village board. So the petitioners will have a choice tonight, because not all of us are here, in order to present tonight or to move to a different night. I've already pre-asked that question, and they are willing to present tonight to the 5 of us. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, we'll get to it. Thank you. If it goes on the omnibus agenda, the next village board meeting is, like, Tuesday, the...
February 7th.
February 7th. You need to be present at that meeting, but most likely not make a presentation. If it goes on the regular board agenda because of a negative vote or because of a mixed vote, then there will be a full presentation to be that night of that meeting. And for those of you who are interested in seeing that meeting, I understand that we now have YouTube video of all the village board meetings. So go to the Village of Vernon Hills website, and from there there'll be links to you for the village meetings if you're interested in seeing those. It's new news for everybody who's here tonight. Before we get started, call to order, please. Roll call.
Bauman.
Present.
Cashin. Here. Kennedy. Here. Newberg. Steer. Vandermeulen.
Here.
And Chairman Putterman.
Here. As stated before, we have 5, which does create a quorum, so we move on tonight. As I've already told everybody kind of how this all works, first thing I want to do before we get to our first case tonight is go through the November 17th meeting minutes. I assume everybody has received their packages and read everything. Are there any questions? Can I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes?
I move the minutes be approved as written.
So moved in a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. On to our case for tonight. Let's see. We have case number 2012-01, how appropriate since it's our first case of the year. Target Corporation, 313 East Town Line Road. The petitioner is requesting a variance from Chapter 19, Sign Section 19-3, C4D, to allow a logo to exceed the height of lettering 8 foot in height rather than the maximum permitted height of 4 feet 5 3/8 inches. Purposes for the installation of a new wall sign and logo on the north facade of Target stores. I know we have at least one presenter here tonight from Target Corporation, and a video presentation which will be shown on the screen behind us and also on TV. And for those of you up here tonight, they'll also be on our computer presentations. Just remind everybody that when you need to speak, please press your green button so I can acknowledge that you'll be speaking, and you'll come through on the microphone. And I apologize for my sore throat voice. It's at the end of a cold. So, first petitioner, come on forward tonight. Step in front of the microphone, and please state for your record your name and address.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Forrest Russell. I'm the Regional Development Manager with the Target Corporation. We're located at 1000 Nicollet Mall, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 55403.
Great. I have to swear you in. This is the thing that I pretend like I'm a judge or something, but
all right.
Raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to get tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you very much. We spoke a little bit earlier, just so I can give you some ideas of what to talk about. I know you have a quick video presentation for us, and then after that, let's focus on the 3 criteria, and we'll be asking you some questions. So please proceed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Putterman and I chatted for a moment beforehand, and it turns out we've met before. That would have been 20 years ago. Yep. In front of either this board or the Board of Trustees at the original approval for the Target store. So it's sort of fun to be back in this venue again. Of course, I guess we were in the building across the way here.
Yeah, the Lashin Center now. Yeah.
In any case, at that time, the city of Vernon Hills did not allow corporate logos on the facades of buildings. So we accepted that, and we put up our store. We put the word Target on there and opened for business. And that's all been well and good. 20 years have gone by. There have been huge changes in Vernon Hills, not the least of which is the facility here and the amount of retail and the competition level along Route 60. Also, during that time, the Target Corporation has certainly undergone a lot of changes in our merchandising, in our image, who we are, what we project. The corporate logo has taken on a huge part of who our identity is. I was wondering, how can I really explain this to you? We're one of the few brands in the world whose name is actually what the logo represents. I mean, we have a Target, and the name is Target. It's, any case, that bullseye has become a true icon, recognizable essentially around the world, but by 96% of Americans. You show them that bullseye, they say Target. So that has become a very large part of our identity. To illustrate that, I just want to run through a couple of slides, and I'll make it very easy for you. The common thread is that the name Target does not appear. The iconic dog, this is Bullseye the dog, who I've met, and she is really sweet. This handsome gentleman representing Target. This is off our website, Giada De Laurentiis. Only the Target icon bullseye. More advertising. This is print advertising from a magazine. More images. And finally, more print from that Sunday circular, only the Target bullseye. So it's really become who we are. It's that flash, that instant recognition, backed up by the word Target, at least in terms of our physical facilities, showing the bullseye and the word Target. You've seen the packet that we sent out, but essentially we're 400 feet back. There's a lot of landscaping. I drove it again this evening, and I'm amazed at how much the landscaping has grown over the years. During the summer, I imagine it's quite difficult to get even a snapshot of the store and the bullseye. But in any case, we are 400 feet back. Here's a quick image of the store, which we have in recent years expanded to a super Target, which is the full grocery Target. Here is the facade of the building. There are 3 signs on there. The other 2 signs are not at issue tonight. We're just talking about replacing, updating the signage on the front of the building. The main Target sign. This is what exists today. The pharmacy block letters will remain. By right, we will change out the script on grocery and turn it into block letters. What we would like to do is to update the storefront from Super Target to the our trademarked Super Target brand. What we've done In the recent economic times, we've certainly scaled back our new store production as the housing market has collapsed and the opportunities to move into the suburbs have certainly disappeared. We're simply going back to placing infill stores in strategic location, and we're buffing up all of our existing properties. We're going back and adding groceries, fresh meat and produce in all of the Target stores. We've now completed that process in almost all of the Targets in the Chicago market. As part of that, we're going back through the super Targets. We're changing the signage so that we get a consistent Target message, a consistent Target brand on all of our stores across the country. Here's a Photoshop image of the proposal. The sign above is what exists today. The lower image is what we would like to install, which would require a variance because of the size of the bullseye. Here's a representation. Strictly by the code, in the top illustration, the code states that the logo cannot be larger than the letters, which is what you see in the upper image. In the middle is that Target brand image that you see here. And in the lower image, at the request of Mike Atkinson, we showed an alternative design, which you might say sort of split the difference in the sizes. And in context on the building, here again are those three signs. So what we're requesting this evening is consideration to install the true Target prototype brand sign as shown in the middle image. At this point, I want to ask Mike. I think we had a little discrepancy on the square footages.
I think what we need to do, if you could just do me a favor.
Okay.
Go through the criteria, and then we'll bring up the change, because we're calculating some numbers now, and then we can go through and ask you
Thank
that
you.
before you finalize your numbers, how we're working.
I think, at the risk of boring you with this, I think the written text on the presentation clearly represents what we're asking, and I will simply read that into the record.
Thank you.
This request meets the intent and preserves the integrity of the current ordinance without being excessive in nature. The Target Bullseye logo is the federally trademarked icon of the Target Corporation, providing brand recognition. The logo text combination provides instant brand recognition followed by reinforcement through the Target name and text. In a challenging retail environment, this store is not able to compete to its full business potential for lack of visual Target branding consistent with the Target stores throughout the nation. The exterior building sign is not current to the Target brand and requires updated text with the addition of the trademark bullseye and logo to be current and competitive.
Keep going.
The plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances and are as follows. The Vernon Hills sign ordinance limits the height and square footage of corporate logos and signs. The current and proposed building sign area falls well within the maximum area allowed by the ordinance. The Super Target federally trademarked logo and text are a unified graphic image that would be code compliant, but for the logo exceeding the height of the text letters. The code is clear in statute, but it's not flexible to allow for the individual unique branding necessary for identification and healthy competition in the challenging retail environment. The variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood because the proposal will not negatively impact the characteristics of the existing BP commercial shopping district, but instead it will positively strengthen the viability of the super target and thereby promote the continued success of the business corridor. The Target logo is the message in this retail marketplace of traffic, activity, and competing visual images, both day and night.
Great. Perfect.
Thank you.
Let me go ask a question, which will now bring up this next issue. Our astute building commissioner, Mr. Atkinson, found that during your presentation, you mentioned that there are two other parts to the sign. One is grocery and one is pharmacy, that you just wanted to change the lettering size of that. The only issue we have then is by bringing those into this tonight, there is a restriction about the total square footage of signage on the frontage. Mike, if you want to bring that up, and we can talk about how we can deal with this quickly.
Yeah, and I agree with the petitioner. They can, by right, change the font on the grocery sign and pharmacy sign, so long as they stay within the size that is indicated on the plans before you tonight.
Right.
And then also that the total square footage of all three signs not exceed 500.22 square feet. So what's before the commission tonight is a variation for the height of the logo, and the commission, because there was a public notice, can act on that request. But the petitioner must comply with the 500.22 square foot total.
Understood.
Okay.
Right. And there's two different ways to deal with that, which we can both talk about. And I think we can't do that until we decide how we want to handle it here first. So the first question is the basis of your presentation at this point completed?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what we'll do now is I want to discuss with the board in front of everybody, obviously, some of these ideas and options, and then we'll present a motion. And because it's a little bit different than what you've presented, there's two ways to handle it. One of which is we go with what has been requested, which is for the Target trademark brand, which has the actual Target itself a little bit bigger, but then require that all three signs not exceed the 500.22, I think as you said, 500.22?
Yes.
100.22 square foot signage, which then will require them to adjust one or to another to make it work. Or the other way to look at it is to go to the alternative design, which then gets the calculation total to 414.4, which therefore would not require us to do anything different than just what's changed here. So there's two ways for us to address it. It's up to you as to how we want us to present it, and we would vote then accordingly. So again, I could push it in one direction or not. I personally don't have a preference one way or the other as long as the combination is there, but I know some of the other board members may have something different, so let's go through that. John?
I just wanted a point of clarity here. If we were to make a motion to grant a variance request for the 8-foot logo,
Yes.
would the combination of the three signs together exceed that 500.22 square feet?
Mike?
Yeah, they'd exceed it by 13.14 square feet. So if the motion for the 8-foot logo were made, I would recommend that the motion be made conditioned upon the total signage be reduced to a size not to exceed 500.22
And the
square
problem
feet.
is, I can't authorize that to go through because it's not what we sent out to the community. So if the petitioner wanted to go through as is and not have that second part added to it, we'd have to come back another time and resubmit to everybody and go around, because now the variance is now two different variances instead of just one. We'd have to go for maximum sign. So because we didn't catch that earlier, we can do it either way. I think you're better off either coming up to the maximum size or working on the alternative, and that's why I want to give you that choice. Does everybody understand what we're doing here and how it's all working, and you understand it? And so.
Yeah, I'm pondering this
Right.
here. It would be, if I understand this, I want to rephrase this again.
Okay, sure.
We need
Yeah, I wanna make sure you totally understand this.
We need to maintain 500 square feet maximum.
500.22, yes.
Right.
I want to be exact so that.
Thank you very much.
Right.
500.22. But you're saying that the actual size of the bullseye must be either 8 feet or the size of 6 feet,
We have two ways to do the bullseye. The bullseye has to be what you've submitted to me,
yeah?
or anything less. We have a right to ask for you to do something less. You don't have to comply with it. You can go to the village board and ask for something different. But by submitting what you've already done, we're looking at target trademark brand. We're not looking at alternative design. You did not request us to do that. So right now, we're voting on, and we haven't even made a motion, but I'm assuming a motion would be to approve the targeted trademark brand that you requested. However, we can't do that because it's creating another variance that we would need. So you would have to amend that
So
to go to
can we
the sign
approve the,
maximum.
is it possible to vote on the 8-foot sign with the stipulation of staying within the 500.22?
Yes, it is.
I
But
would
it doesn't
re-
mean everybody's gonna approve it, but we can
Yeah,
definitely get somebody
understood.
to try to vote on that.
Understood.
If that's your preference, I'd rather do what your preference is,
I
rather
would-
than at this point,
I would like
everybody's talking
to,
there.
I would like to propose that we vote for the full-size bullseye, and we will find a way to
Make
keep
the maximum size.
the total signage package under 500.22 square feet.
Okay, so now that we've clarified that, let's discuss this from our position. Mary, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. The way the signage is now, do we know what the total square footage is currently? I'm just trying to visualize how much it would have to shrink, to fit
Yeah,
that.
well, here, let me,
I think the easiest thing to do is to show on this picture. This is a calculation issue based on the fact that when you, go back to the one you were at, just at for a second. If you look at the dotted lines, the way these signs are calculated is based on the highest point and the lowest point. So a box gets drawn around those points, and that becomes your square footage. Before, we didn't have that logo. So the size of the lettering could be larger, but it's actually, in essence, smaller because that part doesn't stick out.
Okay,
So
are you saying the 500.22 is just this Target brand here, or it's all three
it's gotta be
signs?
the combination of
Oh,
all three signs.
That's what I'm asking, those other two, what do they have to go to?
the other two, the grocery sign is 63.4 square feet, and the pharmacy sign is 35 square feet.
Currently?
And those
Currently.
are
Okay.
under what the allowable was.
Yeah, exactly, and then,
Yeah.
but then you add those into the 8-foot alternative, and that comes up with a total of 513.14 square feet.
But
Now-
if they did something as simple, not that I'm saying we're proposing this, or that we're just giving him a bag that only holds 10 pounds, so he can't put 11 in it. Is
Right.
to trim a pound off might be, even if the grocery, if that G was 1 foot shorter, he'd be under 500 foot.
Right. I mean, this is a very small thing, and I think that's why it's not asking that much for
Yeah.
him to do. But I wanted to make sure that we were all okay with that, because I know, we as a board have been anti-logo forever, as you are well aware.
Understood.
We've gotten a little bit more flexible in that, as you've seen through the community, but we've also kept those signs to a minimum as far as size and color, et cetera. So I would say that your alternative is probably more of a preference to what the board has voted on in the past, but that doesn't mean they're gonna vote on that today. So that's why I wanted to at least have somebody have us talk about that and see where you wanted to go. Personally, I don't have a problem with the larger target as long as the sign is compliant with the square footage, but you all have to vote on your own and discuss that. So, John, did you want to continue on that?
No, I just thought that the proposal, you were making pretty clear that if he wants to get the Target trademark brand with an 8-foot logo,
Yeah.
the compensating factor is either in the grocery or the pharmacy side.
Or he can come
And-
down an inch,
And Target may want to
can make it
take
all
the
an inch smaller.
opportunity as they're changing the font on
We-
grocery to
uh,
change that signage to become compliant.
We
the
could
500 square feet.
conceivably shrink the entire signage package by a small
right, an inch or two.
amount
the
and
whole thing.
maintain the,
Aspect ratio.
let's say, the graphic balance between the words.
Aspect ratio, correct. That is correct. Everybody clear on that?
Yeah, it is.
Larry,
Um,
flash your green button, please, would you, Artie? Thank you.
it is. I'm looking at the existing sign, the Super Target sign. It's got a 5-foot measurement on that, but that's for the Target letters. Should that not include the scripted S in there too in the overall? And I
Yeah.
wonder how high that is.
Yeah, well, it would be something taller than 5 feet. The measurement should be from the bottom of the green line,
Okay.
that underlined super target.
I mean,
to
I
the-
would think that's 8 feet
Yeah,
too.
to the top of the S.
Yeah. So I
In
just-
any
By
case-
adding that, the bullseye in the center, that spread this apart and added more length. So that's where the size difference is, even if it was the same size.
Yeah, it picks up a lot of
Yeah,
additional
it
square
picks up
footage because
vacant
of the
square
logo.
space.
In any case, the bottom line is we would still have to meet that 500.22
Right.
in some manner,
Well, we're saying we're gonna
shrinking
make a
this or
condition
that.
to this,
Yeah,
so that,
it'd be part of the motion is what
okay.
Chairman Putterman.
Any other discussions? So now I would like somebody to make a motion, please.
I'll make a motion
Thank you, John.
that we grant a variance from the Village Code of Ordinances, Chapter 19, Section 19.3C4, to allow a logo to exceed the height of the lettering, that logo being 8 feet in height rather than the maximum permitted height of 4 feet, 5 3/8 inches. There would also be a contingency to this motion that the combination of the Super Target logo sign, the grocery sign, and the pharmacy sign shall not exceed 500.22 square feet in total amongst the 3 signs.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Is the petitioner fine about the motion that we made, because it is a variance from what you've asked for, but I want to make sure that you're clear on that?
Yep.
Great.
I had a question, or.
Go ahead.
I understand the need, in the first example where everything is at the same, I can see that the bullseye doesn't pop like you'd like it to, and like is really the intent of the design. I wonder if you couldn't shrink the lettering to accomplish that as well, because that is a huge block sign, and everybody wants bigger and bigger and bigger, and I just wonder if that's something that you consider to allow that that bullseye to be larger than the letters.
The only problem with that is unless it changes the width, it will not affect the square footage. Because we don't use the calculations from the outer portion to the outer portion. So he can make the letters as small as nothing. It's not going to affect his calculation here.
Well, sure. Well, if you leave the bullseye of the original size with the same height as the letter, and you shrink the letters,
Again,
and
unless
then
the width
but then you
changes,
could.
the calculation won't
But if
change.
you shrunk the letters
If you shrunk
and
it
even
this way.
kept the bullseye a little bit higher, it would. I mean, I'd have to get the calculator out to find.
Yeah.
Just
If the width changes, that is
right.
correct.
That's what I'm saying.
If the height changes, it doesn't have any effect.
Well, if the height changes, the width is going to change too, to maintain that font
And
in there.
that may be the solution that we would look for, is that the entire thing
Shrinks by 3 inches,
shrinks
whatever the number
by
would be.
13 square feet, or in some manner to fall under that 500-foot.
Well, the
maximum.
question we have is, do we have giving them control over that, do we have a problem with that? Again, it's going to be very small, but I just want to make sure that you realize that it will look a little different than what's on our screens and what's been our presentation. I don't have a problem because it's going to be very small. They're going to get to 500.22 exact, because that's what their goal should be. So there's not that many things they can do to make it that much different. If it was going from 700 to 500, I'd say we'd have to see what it looks like, because it will have an effect on how it lays out on the building. This is such a minor change, to me it's not going to make a difference, but I want everybody to be aware of that.
The other thing is the important point that Chairman Putterman brought up, is that unless we propose this motion in this fashion with the maximum on there, Target's going to be required to file for another variance request. This is how we get around it, give Target the flexibility to become compliant with the entire motion.
Except there's nothing in there for the 500 square foot limit.
We've added that in our motion, and therefore, because it's in our motion, we're voting on our motion. If that motion is turned down and we're going to go back to the initial motion, then it'll be a different story, and then I'd say I can't vote on that because it puts me in a position of creating another variance, and I don't want to do that. We want to accommodate the Target. Been a great customer, our village supporter for years, and vice versa. It's been a good business for all of us, and not that you deserve more than anybody else, but people have been here for a long time. It's important for us. So, any other questions or discussions? Roll call, please.
Cashin.
No.
Kennedy. Newberg, Steer, Vandermeulen,
Aye.
Bauman,
Aye.
and Chairman Putterman.
Aye. We do not have a unanimous motion. Therefore, it will be on the board agenda
Okay.
for a presentation on Tuesday, February
7th.
7th.
The motion did carry.
It did carry, though. It's a positive recommendation. So
All
we'll
right,
go to that.
that's Tuesday, February 7th.
Right.
Okay.
Larry, did you want to make any comments for the record of your voting?
No, I think that, that vote is good because it ensures, further discussion at the village board level, which I think is appropriate.
So you're saying that, for the most part, you're in favor, but you want it to be discussed? Or you don't have to say anything, I just want to make sure it's clarified for the record.
I would say that I just want it to be discussed in a forum other than the omnibus agenda.
Great,
Yeah.
perfect. That's great. That's it. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much. We
much.
appreciate it. Guess I'll have a good night. Anything else do we have on new business, anybody? Mike, anything? Anything coming up for next month at this point?
Not at this point. We are in discussion with the mall regarding potential sign variations.
Well, they could use them.
That's, I think, a little down the road, not within the next month. And that's about it for now.
Great. Any other comments,
Can't wait to
questions?
see those. I'm sure there's a whole backlog of that.
Yeah, that'll be a big, long one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Great. Motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Second? Thank you all very much. We are adjourned. Everybody have a good night and drive safely.